Hi guys, today we're playing Imperial Grace. Not to be mistaken for Yes Your Grace, which is a different game, an old one that maybe I will also play one day, but Imperial Grace is a story game like Winter Wedding, but with some kingdom management aspects, I think. I have already went ahead and chosen my wardrobe and hairstyle and stuff like that, so we can go straight to the story. And start with the prologue. A panic voice resonated in my dream like an echo a few moments before I understood that it came from somewhere else and woke up with a jolt, disoriented. The palpable feeling of urgency had immediately brought me to my senses, but it still took me a few seconds to recognize the advisor's voice, as well as the room I was in. Alden, what's going on? Your Highness, I bring terrible news. Your father was assassinated last night. Oh my god, such a tense emotional moment and I fucked it up, okay. Your father was assassinated last night. I was ready to hear just about anything. Managing a crisis was an important part of royalty after all, and yet I was completely stunned by the news. My father was dead, at the hands of an assassin, just a few rooms away from me. All the implications from this revelation bounced through my head, drenched in doubt and fear concerning my own security and the future of the realm of Calidia. I beg your pardon, Your Highness. I was too late. Pulling myself out of my lethargy, I looked down on Alexander, who knelt next to the bed, his head bent low, as if the weight of his shame stopped him from getting up. Whatever went down, I knew he had nothing to be ashamed of. When I was just a child, I already admired his talents, and they grew steadfast with age and the position of general. His presence here was a relief. I didn't know the assassin's full intentions, but even if they were after me, as long as Alexander was by my side, I didn't have anything to worry about. Don't put yourself down like this. You aren't responsible for what happened. We'll bring the regicide to justice. Still mortified, Alexander stayed on his knees. I could see his fingers twitch a little, prove he wasn't completely convinced, but he nodded his approval all the same, transported by the firmness of my voice. As for me, now that I had said it out loud, I felt that the information had settled in my mind, and I finally accepted as truth with a full understanding of the situation. My father, Magnus V, Emperor of Calidia, was dead. Many would have broken down after hearing such news, but for years now I hadn't held an ounce of affection for him. His death was actually good news to me. Oh, I wondered, she didn't sound that emotional, and I wondered, should I, sound more sad or something? It marked the beginning of a new era, a better one, I hoped. An era for which I'd been preparing ever since I realized that this was my destiny. I was to succeed him. I was to become the empress. But it wasn't yet time for celebration. Although I was the legitimate heir to the throne, I had plenty of detractors and I still needed to figure out why the assassination had taken place. I had many questions about the killer's identity and motivations. I was lost in thought, and it took me a while to realize that Alden and Alexander were staring at me, worried, surely awaiting a reaction or a declaration from me. Both have known me since my early childhood. They knew the enmity I felt for the Emperor, and I trusted them enough to set all pretenses aside. But it was perhaps a bit inappropriate to rejoice over my future title while my father's dead corpse was still warm. After taking a deep breath, I threw off my covers and got up, eyeing them. Um, well, I mean, I am to be the empress, and as the empress in this kind of games, I don't trust anyone. I don't think rejoicing and showing too much happiness here would be a good idea. But since they know her, I don't think we shall pretend to be sad, because it would be probably obvious that she's pretending, so let's stay neutral. Clothing seemed a tad indecent, but I could at least spare myself the pretense of being the grieving orphan that I would surely need to be in front of the court. What I feel isn't important. You don't have to worry about me. What matters most is our nation, and we all know that the sudden death of an emperor is a delicate situation. At the moment, the most important thing is to preserve the kingdom's stability. I'm counting on you to protect and serve me. This won't be an easy task, but I'm sure we can accomplish great things. This time, Alexander got up, putting his hand on his sheath in a dignified and military posture. At your service, Highness. May the four witness my oath. I solemnly swear that I will protect you until my dying breath. Emphatic, he bowed down before lifting his eyes up to me. I smiled and accepted his allegiance with a certain poise, despite my unkempt hair and my nightgown. Marjorie, my tutor, often told me that everything about me showed nobility, that I didn't need any props to act like an empress. Today I understood what she had meant. Alden, however, didn't seem to share the general's fervor. Forgive me, your majesty, for tarnishing your enthusiasm, but there is a very delicate question that I have to ask. Hey, I did not show much enthusiasm. I mean, maybe being like, well, it doesn't matter what I feel. Oh, let's just go around the kingdom. Hey, it is maybe a little bit enthusiastic, but I am being very practical and pragmatic here. Okay, okay. Have you had your father killed? Oh, oh my. Oh, such an inappropriate question to ask me. His abrupt question threw me off, and I stared at him, wavering between surprise and indignation. How dare you even suggest such a possibility? You're going too far, advisor. Come on, don't be offended. You said it yourself, you hated your father since the death of your brother. You've always held him responsible for it. And your father dies on the very day of your return to the palace? Whatever your answer is, I'll accept it, but I need to know. I felt anger rise within me at those words, and I walked to the window to breathe some fresh air. After I took a few deep inhales, I finally turned around to face him and gave him my answer in a firm voice. Who else knows about the assassination for now? Oh my, how many times would I have to struggle with this word? Assassination, 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 whatever. Oh, this is terrible. Who else knows about the assassination for now? Alexander seemed surprised by my question and frowned a bit while searching his mind. When I found the body, I immediately went to warn the advisor and both of us rushed to see you. The only ones who know about it are the guards who were patrolling with me and your father's personal maid who was passing by. We knew it would be best to attract attention, so I had her discreetly sent to the dungeon for interrogation. How about the guards who were stationed before my father's door? Both are dead. I also had their corpses taken to the dungeon for examination. I paced the room, lost deep in thought. You've done well. Now we have to keep it all secret. It's imperative that no one else hears about it. Oh, Your Grace. This won't be an easy secret to keep. Obviously. We won't be able to do that forever. I only need a few days so I can stay ahead of my detractors. Alden looked thoughtful for a few moments, then he nodded. I see. So you want to act before everyone else, which should give you the upper hand? Exactly. Very smart. I have no doubt that some people will want to take advantage of the situation. Even if you are unquestionably the rightful heir, your place will be fought over. But if you don't give them time to react, that could make things a great deal easier. That's what I was thinking too. I'd love it if the situation was more straightforward, but this is a little white lie, and the alternative is the chaos of a wildly disputed succession. Okay, so we are to keep his assassination a secret while he's about to celebrate his birthday in 2 days. So, like, how is that gonna work? Nobody's gonna see him on his birthday. I mean, girl, I hope you know what you're doing. That girl being me in this case. Alden nodded, and I continued developing the rest of my plan. In the meantime, pretend that His Majesty is not feeling well and investigate discreetly. I see. I'll order my men to stay silent. I'll also ensure that they haven't said a word so far. About that, it might be wiser to ensure that they can't talk at all. Low-grade staff is known for its gossiping, even the guards. My men are trustworthy. They would never disobey. Would you be willing to bet on that if it could jeopardize the plans of your new empress, to whom you have only just sworn allegiance? And that maid, can you also guarantee she'll keep quiet? His teeth clenched, his hand gripping the hilt of his sword. Alexander shook his head. The weight of Alden's words has also fallen heavily on my shoulders, and I observed both men while contemplating my next steps. This decision is yours to make, Your Grace, but I strongly advise you to silence them for good. Alden was right. The most effective way to ensure someone stayed quiet was to have them killed. However, there could be other alternatives to consider. Such a decision couldn't be taken lightly, because whatever I decided, I couldn't afford to regret it. Damn! So... that's a pretty terrible choice as your first choice. Have them killed. We'll pretend they were collateral damage of the assassin. I'm sorry, Alexander, but we cannot afford to take any risks. And the cost in this case is apparently not my soul, but... army? I suppose? And I have 10 and I would lose 2, if I understand correctly. Ensure their loyalty by promising them a much better position once I'm crowned. Even if they were really tempted to talk about what happened, this should be a good enough motivation to ensure their allegiance. And that would cost me whatever this is. Is it religion? Is it... I took a feat in like, I think diplomacy or something. And there were like army, money, diplomacy, and religion, I think. So those are one of those. I either have diplomacy or money. When you explain to them that they mustn't say a word, give them a few coins and promise them more once the secret has been revealed. And in the meantime, send them on a vacation far away from here. That should be enough to guarantee their silence. See, I would just all leave them in prison or something. Or like send them away and guard them so like no one can talk to them. And then just return them without harming them or spending anything, but that's not an option here. So my plotting is not what can be done here. I don't want to waste money on them. I think people that are willing to do stuff for money are not very trustworthy. But maybe the better position to win their loyalty. Like, I don't want to kill them just yet. Maybe this will kill me and then I will have to redo this choice, but... I saw Alexander sigh in relief and imperceptibly loosen up. Alden, however, shrugged and bowed to me. Oh, that could work, yes. Time will tell. I have faith. Besides, if I'm right, I'll be surrounded by trustworthy people, which is always useful. I had spoken with determination, perfectly hiding my own doubts. Humans are unpredictable in nature, it was a bet, and I could only hope it would pay off. In any case, even if the servants talked and the rumors escaped, I still had my chances. The advantage I was building would be precious to me, but it wasn't the only weapon in my arsenal. Can I count on you, Alexander? He straightened into a military stance and immediately bowed. Of course, Your Grace. I will do my best to convince them. You've made the right decision. Without further ado, he bowed once more and left the room with a heavy step. Alden seemed to be lost in thought for a moment, giving me time to come to my senses before he bowed down in turn. I must at least inform the Master of Murmurs of the situation, so that we may launch an investigation. I nodded, aware of our lead spy's discretion as well as his efficiency. Yeah, one would hope that the lead spy would be discreet, you know. Once that is done, I'll come to you to plan the rest of your ascent. I have a feeling those two are, like, dateable. And also, like, the two voices of, you know, like the devil and angel on your shoulder, like the Alden, I think. I'm not sure. It will take me some time to remember their names. I think the military guy, the general, whatever, is like the more, you know, honest and like loyal and technically a good guy. That's going to be for the more empathetic choices, or what you call them, while the other one is going to be the more ruthless and conniving and just dangerous one, technically. Like, I don't think dangerous to us, but he will definitely... I think we will have to choose between options like be nice and kill everyone more often than not. And it will probably affect our relationship with the guys, because, you know, people tend to like when you agree with them, especially in those games. Once more, I nodded in approval, glad to be offered a little interlude that would allow me to gather my thoughts. And to dress decently while I was at it. Oh, I guess probably didn't mind about her robe. After all, even if the coronation hadn't taken place yet, deep within me I knew it. I felt it. I was the Empress. Chapter 1. Long live the Empress! Spring, day 8, morning. How is it day 8? We just started this game. Were there time skip because it's a demo, or did we start on day 7 or something? I don't know. The sun had now been up for a few hours, promising a beautiful day, but I knew I wouldn't be able to appreciate it. Now that the rush of adrenaline from the news had passed, all I had left were doubts on the days to come, which were going to be exhilarating as much as terrifying. I was gambling my future, alone with Callidius, and that was a big deal. I had spent the past few hours readying myself and refining the details of my plan to appease my latent nervousness as best as I could. But that didn't help me shake off my main preoccupation, the servants. Like Alden had said, I had made a risky decision and I had been torturing myself for hours wondering if it was worth it. I was restless when I heard a knock, and leapt to the door, opening it for Alden and letting him in. There, your grace, we have followed your orders. Is he going to tell me now how terrible they were? I hadn't seen that he was accompanied by the Master of Murmurs, who came in after him. A slight discomfort washed over me. Hello. You know, I just like my rogues and stuff. His role inside the palace was vital, but since I was a child, I had been terrified of his hidden face and the mysterious aura that surrounded him. Oh my, that reminds me of romantasy series Princess and Spy, and from Lisette Marshall, and the first one is called Velvet, I think. It's a good read. It's a good read. I think it's currently available because she's redoing the series, which really I think it's a shame because I loved it the way it was, and I don't know. I just think her current work doesn't hit the same. It's gotten into the much more basic romantasy, you know. Feel, I don't know. It's less original now. Nevertheless, my discomfort turned into amazement when I saw him remove his hood, as if it were nothing, and turn to face me. Has she never seen his face before? My brain has pictured the worst for years, and it was very unsettling to finally be able to put a face to that man. I realized he wasn't as monstrous as I had imagined. Wait, so you look like you're around, I don't know, in your 20s? Maybe 30, but well, it depends on how her father was old when he died, right? But she maybe did not get the throne in her 20s. And he doesn't look that much older, but she said she'd been terrified of his hidden face since she was a child, but you know, he would have to be a child also when he was her age, if there were not multiple of them, you know, switching or whatever. It was very unsettling to finally be able to put a face to that man. I realized he wasn't as monstrous as I had imagined, yeah. In fact, I was so shocked that it made me forget the reason for my visitor's presence, which seemed to greatly amuse the Master of Murmurs. Is there a problem, Your Grace? Oh, it's just... I didn't know that you could show your face. To be honest, I do what I want, but in principle I only remove my hood in the presence of my sovereign and their close collaborators. Though I like to entertain the mystery and anonymity that come with the job, it would be far too dangerous for me never to reveal my face. Some people might use that to usurp my identity. I see. And though it was disconcerting, it was also rather reassuring to see that a man as important as the Master of Murmurs already acknowledged me as his sovereign. You know, to be honest, I also forgot he was there. It's like, I'm also here, you too. Oh my gosh, we have options, girls. I think. Alden cleared his throat to recall me to my duty, and I suddenly remembered the reason for the two men's presence, which immediately made my anxiety flare up. To keep myself from staring at the master spy, I faced the advisor and fully focused on him. Did everything go well? My anxiety must have been conspicuous, even if I was doing my best to put on a confident expression. The servants seemed convinced by our offer. They left the palace without complaining, so I suppose we can count that as a win. Despite all that, it's still a bit early to be sure of anything. I gave the Master of Murmurs and Alexander the task of keeping a close eye on the situation. Yeah, so Alden is this one, the advisor, and the general is Alexander, like Alexander the Great. Okay, I will probably remember that, hopefully, from now on. The Master of Murmurs slowly nodded in assent. We'll know more tomorrow, but for the time being there's nothing more to report. I lifted my eyes to meet the advisors and flashed Alden a reassuring smile. Clearly, he read my emotions better than I had thought, and I couldn't allow myself to visibly waver at such a critical time. I know that, and what's done is done. Now we must focus on the future. Bring the High Priest to the council room. I need him to contact the Quadrator. Robert is a pious man. Are you sure it's a good idea to confide in him? Everyone likes to think the devout never lie, but one doesn't obtain a place like his without cheating a little. I admit that the idea of lying to him came to me for a fleeting moment, but to fool him would be a complex task, and I'll be needing his support when the time comes. The people put great stock in men of faith. Very well, Your Majesty. Will that be all? Yes, thank you. You summoned me, Your Grace. Yes, thank you for coming, Robert. I gestured for him to sit down while I settled behind my father's imposing desk. Like I had predicted, my behavior made him lift a curious brow, but I pretended not to notice it. I won't beat around the bush. My father, the Emperor, died during the night. Clearly, we had done a pretty good job at keeping that a secret, since the shock on his face seemed genuine. What? But how? And why am I just learning about it now? I need to pray for his soul. I tried to appease him with a wave of my hand, inviting him to sit back down, since he looked like he was about to get up. He was murdered. For the time being, we're keeping his death a secret so we can investigate without causing any sort of panic. It was the Master of Murmurs' idea. He's convinced he'll be able to find the assassin more easily this way. Drowning in information, the High Priest slumped into his chair and took in my half-truths, while I assumed a saddened expression. It truly is a tragic situation. Keeping quiet and hiding my mourning is a very hard task for me. I know it's a lot to ask of you, but you need to keep this a secret. I want to do everything in my power to uncover the murderer, especially since I'm scared he could come after me. Once more, I was quite proud of the quivers in my voice, and my acting seemed to be effective since I saw a spark of compassion light up in his eyes. I understand now why the general was guarding your door like a common soldier. With a closed expression on my face, I nodded, searching for the right words. The first and main reason I've summoned you here is that so I could confide in you and ask you to pray for my departed father's soul. Of course, your majesty. I'll lock myself up in the great temple and dedicate myself to the task. My face still sad, I gave him a tight, grateful smile, but inside I felt relieved. His prayers should keep him busy enough that he wouldn't be tempted to reveal everything. Now I could move on to the true reason of his presence here. But before that, this saddens me, but I have another favor to ask of you. Of course, your grace, what is it? Well, Alden and I are afraid that all the upstarts across the kingdom will rush to the castle and try to usurp the throne as soon as my father's death is made public. In their greed, many forget that my line sits on the throne by the grace of the Four. So I'd like to send a letter to the Quadrator and have him support my coronation as well as reaffirm my legitimacy. Once more he stayed silent and I tried to hide my worry behind a veil of sadness. I hated that my plans depended on a single person, but I didn't have a choice. Only rulers and high priests could hope to quickly reach the ultimate leader of the cardinals, and I technically wasn't empress yet. I understand, yes, you're Magnus the Fifth's only legitimate child, the throne should be yours. That said, I don't know if the Quadrator will approve of your advent. Perhaps, if you were married, your candidacy would seem less inappropriate. I felt my body tense up at his words, and it took all I had to conceal how irritated I was by this reminder. I knew I would be told such things. I had mentally prepared myself for it, but obviously it hadn't been enough. It's an issue, yes, and I'll do my best to find a fitting husband quickly, but you'll agree that I cannot entrust the throne of Calidia to just anyone. I have plenty of suitors, but I need some time to study each and every one of them. That's not something that can be done in just a couple of days or even weeks. In the meantime, we do need someone to lead the country and make sure it doesn't sink into chaos, and if a regent were to be appointed, I'm afraid he might refuse to give the throne back to me and my husband, which would lead the whole country to a bloodbath. No one wants to see another era of murderous plots like during Magnus's the Third's time. You're right, Your Grace, we cannot let such a tragedy befall us. I'll go write a letter to the Quadrator right away to express support for your coronation and explain our situation. Satisfied, I let out a sigh of relief. I thank you for your support, High Priest Robert. It means a lot to me. Swiftly, I opened one of the desk's drawers and pulled out a thin sealed letter. While I was waiting for you, I humbly wrote a few words destined for the Quadrator. We've never met, and I hope this would help him get to know me a little, as well as reassure him of my faith in the Four. I was thinking that perhaps you would be so kind as to add it to your own correspondence. Once more he seemed to be caught off guard, but he smiled instantly and enthusiastically. Of course, Your Majesty, it's a great idea. Relieved, I gave him the letter in question while thanking him once more for his support and his help in these unprecedented times. I only hoped he didn't have the audacity to break the seal, because even if it did contain a few clichés on my virtues, the letter mostly made promises that could actually motivate a Quadrator. Oh, okay, what did I choose? I knew that gold made the world go round, and so I promised a hefty donation to the Great Temple of Meridian. Knowing his taste for luxury, I knew that he wouldn't be insensitive to a few more riches. Okay. Having always known that I'd need his support one day, I had used the few resources at my disposal to observe him closely, and I had learned something that could stain his reputation. Oh, that is, we have a lot of faith and not much money. but it's kind of a shitty thing to do. Not just from the moral standpoint, okay? He's probably not a great man or whatever, corrupted, loves luxury, okay? But at the same time, threatening to stain his reputation seems like a good way to make an enemy. And I don't know if all these choices are automatically like going to succeed, but just will cost resources, or if some of those can make us fail. Damn it. I guess I would go for the riches this time. I think that seems the wisest. To play with a man as powerful as the Quadrator, and I wasn't talking about his possible connection to the gods, but his actual worldly power, was a risky move, but it was all worth it. The dice had been cast, I could only hope for things to go well and prepare the field for my conquest of the Khalidian nobility. And now she's like, after the meeting, like, ugh, that's over. Let's put on some pajamas and drink some wine. It was so hard to pretend how sad I am. Oh, that's just how I feel. I don't know. Despite my desire to act, for the time being, I couldn't do anything but wait for the Quadratus' answer. Even if the letter had left that very morning, Meridian was far away, and I knew I couldn't hope for an answer for at least 3 days. I had to chomp at the bit and act naive. Okay, and what about the birthday of the Emperor? He's like... She's going to wait for 3 days and everybody's gonna be like, oh, where's the Emperor? Because, like, you know, it's his birthday. Is he dying or what? My first thought was to mingle with the court so I could clear my head, but then, pretending that nothing was up and feeding rumors to justify my father's absence was more frustrating than doing nothing. Well. Even Marjorie's presence irritated me. Despite her advanced age, as soon as she turned her inquisitive eyes onto me, I had the impression she managed to perceive the truth. And so I had taken refuge in the library, hoping to read a little. But in all honesty, even if I managed to unscramble a few words, my thoughts were far away and my mind was replaying the events of the previous night. Asking myself again and again if I had done the right thing. Your Grace. As if he suddenly realized where we were, the Master of Murmurs repeated his interjection in a lower, albeit just as zealous tone. Your Grace, we have an urgent problem on our hands. This preamble was enough to make me abandon my boring reading, and I put down my book, ensuring there weren't any indiscreet ears in the library before I invited him to continue. After he also made sure no one was around, he pulled back his hood and resumed his explanations. As you know, I've asked to keep an eye on the 3 people aware of your father's death. However, barely 24 hours have passed and I have been told that the maid immediately went to a noble, the Baron Thorburn of Levi, instead of leaving town. Great. So this did not work. She probably thinks she'll gain more from him than from me. We should have just killed the maid and left the guards alone, but that was also not an option. I conducted an investigation and I'm almost positive the two are in a relationship. Oh. I've interrogated her colleagues who confirmed that she's had a rich benefactor for a few months already and everything hints at his name. Okay, so that means that even if we gave the money, that would also not work because she already has money from her rich benefactor. So we could only kill her to prevent this. Is this going to be a game over? It's possible. I didn't really care about my servant's romantic endeavors, but I wanted to know where he was going with this. Are you afraid she'll speak? Yes, and I'm afraid the Baron will want to use that information to glean more power. Is he trying to blackmail us? No, we've had nothing of the sort, but tonight he's holding a party to which half of the nobles currently in the capital are invited. That cannot be a coincidence. No event justifies for such a party to be improvised. It's improper. I admit this situation is so very odd, but do we have any proof? Unfortunately, no, Majesty, only suspicions. I took in a few deep breaths while I pondered the situation and calculated the risks. If these allegations happen to be true, I would be stuck between a rock and a hard place. Not only would my plan to gain time fail utterly, but everyone would know of my deception. Moreover, if she didn't speak, now that I knew of this maid's allegiance, I wasn't sure it was a good idea to give her a better position down the line. That would give her more opportunities to spy on me for the Baron. Oh, there are options. There aren't many. Majesty, either we do nothing and wait to see what happens while preparing to counteract possible rumors, or we have them both assassinated to eliminate any risk of leaks, but the Baron is an influential man. There are far fewer chances of his death passing unnoticed than that of a simple servant. Tired, I massaged my temples to help me think about the best course of action in the situation. Death was most definitely the best way to stop someone from talking, but the reason I wanted to avoid such matters in the first place was because they disgusted me and they could well have unwelcome repercussions for me. Would align myself with the Baron be a possibility? It is true that this information will give him power, but not as much as having an empress owe him a favor. I think it could work, but do you really want to study a rule adapted to such an ambitious man? That was indeed a risk. I could always double-cross him once the danger had passed, but that would undeniably have after effects. Do you have an idea of what he wants? I'd like to know what I'm getting myself into. If I had a few days, I would have been able to tell you, but I can't answer you in time for the party. Sighing once more, I close my eyes to better contemplate my options. This is what I get for being merciful. See, at least I would not have to kill the guards. And only kill the maid now, with a Baron. And that's going to be possibly very dangerous if it's... if, you know, I'm not even an empress yet, and it's like, well, she's going around killing nobility here. That's not a good look. Being indebted to some baron who is no doubt ambitious and probably able to cause problems. Maybe he's going to want to marry us. Oh, that would be not great, I suppose. 3. Oh yeah, I can do nothing. When one plays, one must expect to lose. I'm ready to accept the consequences of my actions, even if it won't be easy. I'm afraid trying to fix things will only make them worse, and I don't want to fall into such a vicious cycle. I'll wait to see what happens. We should prepare as best we can for what is to come. Okay. If we do nothing, probably it will get out that we try to hide her father's death, which could also make her more suspicious in the assassination incident. Or, I despise having to resort to this solution, but because the servant hasn't been trustworthy, I don't have much of a choice. Have them murdered before tonight and make sure this can't be traced back to me. Otherwise, consequences would be even more disastrous. And that will cause me some army and some religion, because that's... or influence. I still don't know what that is. Is it influence? I don't know. It may be influence, because that's probably what I have, and that's why I have so much. So I should probably use it. Right now, what matters most is to solve this issue. If the Baron demands more than he is owed after all is said and done, we'll decide what to do with him, but he might behave reasonably, which would mark the start of a fruitful alliance. We won't know until we try. We at least have to attempt to reason with him. I can lose some of this. I'd like the diplomatic option. Even though in real life I'm very not a diplomatic and solid person, but in games it's fun to pretend you're something you're not, so... You know, I guess... We have a lot to lose right now either way, let's at least not become a murderer. For now. Let's wait until we have all the power, okay? Then, you know, you can get away with murder more easily then. That's what history taught me. I'm sorry, it's not my fault, it's the history's fault. I'd like to share your optimism, Your Grace, but the Baron of Levola never seemed a reasonable man to me. Well, in any case, I bend to your will. Since Advisor Alden is more adept at this sort of negotiations, I will inform him and let him lead the discussions. Nevertheless, I'll stay at the ready in case the Baron refuses to listen to reason. Very well, I'm counting on you. The Master of Murmurs gave me an elegant bow and departed, leaving me alone once more, with doubts gnawing at my mind. I waited for the end of the day with more nervousness than usual, unable to concentrate, fearing the arrival of the Master of Murmurs as much as I hoped for it. So far the diplomacy did not really go well. Oh, we also get night. It was already late when Alden knocked on my door to inform me of the evolution of the situation. I was convinced a man like the Baron would be in favor of some arrangement, but there were so many things that could go wrong. Your Grace, I've spoken to the Baron of Levola, who turned out to be quite stingy with his information. To my greatest shame, I'm unable to tell you what he knows exactly. He's remained very vague on the subject, but he clearly hinted at having information that could harm you. I did as you wished and suggested that if he supports your ascension to the throne, you'll have your eternal gratitude. He accepted in principle, but he seemed to doubt that you intend to uphold your side of the bargain. He's asking for a guarantee. Does he want to marry us now? A guarantee. Alden nodded with a sigh. He wants a document written and signed by your hand to make this alliance official. I couldn't blame him for doubting my honor. After all, I had considered breaking my promise if the price to pay for upholding it was too high. But what he asked me was impossible. I can do that. That would mean admitting to my schemes. At the moment, all he's got is the word of a servant, and no proof that I am directly involved. I won't hand it to him on a silver platter. I wholeheartedly agreed with you, but those are his terms. Exasperated, I took in a deep breath before grabbing a sheet of paper and some ink from my desk. I'll write him a letter in which I declare that I owe him a favor for services rendered without giving any details. This should be enough to prove my goodwill, and if it doesn't suit him, it means deep down he never wanted to commit to this arrangement in the first place. We won't have any choice then but to use your methods. Very well, Majesty, I'll bring it to him right away. Thank you, Alden, and I'm sorry to use you as a courier, it's beneath you. He gave an amused laugh. Oh, you'd be surprised, Majesty. This has often been my exact role. I dozed off, seated at my desk, when someone knocked at my door once more and I woke up with a start. Hey, honestly, I was like, oh, he doesn't want an alliance, I am gonna just kill him, like, whatever. He's a douchebag, obviously, like... But okay, my character was gracious enough to send him a letter. So, Alden, How did it go? It seemed he had spent hours on the task, which was rather worrisome, but he had come back without the letter I had written. He accepted his compromise. For the time being, he doesn't want anything in particular, but I trust him to let us know when he's ready to claim his favor. And the party? It must be in full swing at this time of night? I don't know if his main goal was to harm you, but in any case, he had another excuse ready. He announced his engagement to a noble from Varga named Lilia of Valentum. I nodded with a sigh. I didn't know when this would all come back to bite me again, but at least the situation was under control. Oh, so at least we don't have to marry him because he's going to marry someone else. That's a relief. Thank you for your help, Alden. My pleasure, Your Grace. We'll continue to keep a close eye on him, but you can relax for now. Smiling, I nodded, aware that I was in dire need of sleep after so many strong emotions. Day 10 morning. Did we also skip 2 days or something? Your Grace, this is a little premature, but should you become empress, you will need to manage the kingdom's policies. I'd like to make sure that you're ready for such a task. Another tutorial. Let's play through the tutorial. Okay. As you already know, the kingdom's policies influence how your subjects, noble or otherwise, view you, but also what resources will be available to us. You can set tax rates for the people and the nobility. As you may have guessed, the higher they are, the less happy the people will be, but the faster the coffers will fill up. But there are many other things much more subtle. For example, you can decide how open to trade our borders should be or which sectors of the economy you'd like to focus on. We must also consider how to protect ourselves from our neighbors, especially bearing in mind Vargas's warlike inclinations. Isn't that the guy whose daughter is marrying the guy we owe favor to now? That doesn't sound good. But maintaining an army is very, very expensive, as such, investing in diplomacy may offer better results in the long run. And finally, we have to manage the priests. Their influence on the people is immense, and they have infrastructures all over the nation. Offerings made to them are never wasted. We've set up regular periods of time during which we collect earnings, but there will be a short delay before the consequences of any changes you make can be seen. The story alternates with phases of gameplay which are triggered between 2 scenes. During these phases, you will be able, among other things, to modify your kingdom's general policies. Gains will be distributed at the end of the gameplay phase. Is that clearer now? I read most of it and did not really pay much attention to the meaning, so no, but yes, I understand. Yes, even if it's all very theoretical. That's true, but the best way to approach the subject in a more concrete manner is to look into it yourself. Even if I'll only be doing this work after my coronation, when I try my hand at it now. I'm sure there are things that I'd like to change in my father's policies. Alright! Taxes, moderate. The people will understand and you'll receive a moderate amount of money. If we go for low, they will be happy but I will be broke. If we go for high, people will be angry and I will be rich. Okay. Let's not tax people too much, that rarely goes well. So we have people 15 minus 5, nobility 15, money 7 plus 1, religion 10 plus 2, army 10 plus 1, goods 10 plus 2, influence 15 plus 2. Do I want to have something be like the main stat? Or do I want to keep it all like around 10? I don't know. Offerings. Religion plus... Oh, I see. So the base does not change. So I have base 15, 15, 7, 10, 10, 10, 15, and I can go up or down. I'd like more money. People will not like that if I don't do offerings. That's bad. Trade. You know, this could be good. Free trade. Nobility will like that. We'll get more monies. And don't lose that much by it. We can also do less diplomacy. Because we already have enough nobility and influence. I don't think we need that much more. So now we have 10 money, 10 people, 15 nobility. I'd like to have more people. Maybe more army even? I'm not sure. Okay. What about the resources? Crafts, money, nobility, goods, resources, money, people, goods, goods, people. Plus goods, plus people. Why not? Why not? I could tax them more now. This seems like a good balance, actually. And then I could have better army. I like this. I'm not sure it's good, but Alden says, that sounds most excellent to me. So now I get all my goodies. Dawn had barely risen when I heard a kerfuffle at the door, and I immediately recognized Robert's voice. Who's Robert? It's not Alden, it's not Alexander, it's the priest, right? I got up with a groan and quickly slipped on the dress, trying to make myself presentable before opening the door. Hey priest, what's going on? I tried to remain as neutral as possible, but I was burning up with a mix of anxiety and excitement because I had a solid guess as to what this was about. The Quadrator, he answered, Your Majesty. Nervous, he handed me 2 letters bearing the recognizable seal of His Holiness. Your name is written on them. I didn't dare open them, Your Highness. Exhilarated, I looked at the 2 pieces of paper that were about to seal my future. One seemed official, while the other was explicitly for my eyes only. Oh, so one is official and one is about, yeah, see what you've done here with the monies. Okay, let's see. I would have liked to be alone when reading them both, but clearly it had taken Robert all he had not to break the wax seal on the official letter, and he now stared at me impatiently. My throat was dry as I grabbed a paper cutter to open the correspondence, and my heart was beating so fast I had the impression everyone in the room could hear it. Lady Lyra of Terrenfell, daughter of Magnus V of Terrenfell the Fierce, Emperor of Calidia. The 4 have spoken and have recognized you as the legitimate heir of the crown of Calidia by virtue of your blood and despite your gender. Despite your gender. Oh my god, women love to hear that. By this decree, I convey the word of the gods. May your governance be respected by all the just and the pious. May your rule prosper and never stray from the fourth faith. Verne Quadrator by the grace of the 4. I was shaking so hard I felt my legs give in, and I had to sit down on my bed so I didn't fall over. I had done everything in my power to make this moment happen. But now that it was upon me, I was engulfed by all the emotions I had accumulated in the past week. Robert seemed to understand me, and he bowed to leave me a few long seconds so I could take in the Quadrator's words. Finally, he spoke up. "That's marvelous, Your Majesty. I knew the four would acknowledge your legitimacy." Almost timidly, I nodded and tried to recover my usual composure. With the Quadrator's support, my coronation was sure to happen, but it didn't mean I was rid of enemies or other contenders. I couldn't let my guard down yet. "Yes, the time has come for everyone to know the truth. Gather the nobles in the castle at dawn and prepare the pigeons." He nodded, a grave expression on his face. "Yes, we can't wait any longer. The secret of your father's death couldn't have been kept indefinitely in any case." It was true that his absence had been going on for a while, and a possible illness worried people just as much as a possible death. It was fortunate that these letters hadn't taken too long to arrive. I'll be there. I need to finish getting ready." "Of course, Your Majesty. I'll have the bells run, but at such an early time I don't suppose we can gather everyone in less than an hour." I approved with a polite nod, and soon I watched him leave and close the door. Finally on my own, I collapsed on the bed and let myself gloat. I whooped in pure childish joy as I read the Quadrator's letter over and over again. I knew that I had plenty of challenges ahead of me, but this was my first victory against traditions, and I intended to savor it for as long as I could. Only after a few long minutes had passed did I decide to open the second letter, which was addressed to me personally. What was he saying to that? "Lady Lyra de Turinfell, thank you for your generous donation to Meridian's Great Temple. Please know that I never forget my friends. I'm sure we'll get along marvelously." Yes, see, I think that was the right way to go about this, because this way I'm his friend now. The other way I would probably be his enemy, because if someone pulls up dirt at you, like, that's not a way to gain their friendship, and support. Like, he would probably support us officially, but we'll have problems in the long run. Diplomacy is important for the long run, Happy with my decision, I sighed and carefully put the letter away into my desk. Pretty promises were easy to forget. I could perhaps use the parchment to remind him of his support one day, or to show to some reluctant noble just how popular I was with one of the most powerful men on the continent. In any case, I believed that my actions had managed to sway him, and I was quite proud of that. Now it was the court I had to sway, and I knew this wasn't going to be an easy task. "Well, you're great at diplomacy, my girl, so I believe in you." I have no idea who that is. Oh, it's probably the old servant or whatever. What she called her? I don't know, but. "Oh, make sure not to overexert yourself, Lyra. You're spending your days locked up in this office. You should get out a bit to clear your head. Come take a walk with this old lady." I had left the... Ooh. Oh, she doesn't look like a servant. She looks like a very rich old lady, like her ma, almost. It's probably not her mother, right? It's, I don't know, governess? Friend, something like that. I now want to kind of change her voice, but whatever. I had left the door open, and although I hadn't heard Marjorie come over to me, I wasn't surprised, since her perfume, which she applied too liberally, had filled the room. I almost felt nostalgic for a moment. Contrary to what she seemed to suggest, I wasn't here for pleasure. I was overwhelmed. Invitations, solicitations, promises. I'd spent the last 3 days flattering the Callidian nobility to ensure that nothing would interfere with the coronation in 3 weeks' time, and I still had a lot to do. Wow, that's a lot of time. Who's running this country in the meantime? Like, she probably is officially, but... Oh, perhaps you can fool everyone else, but I know you're far from being an old lady, Marjorie. My reply made her laugh. A hoarse and joyous sound that believed what I had just said. Oh, I still have the same quick wit I had when I was 20, but I'm afraid my whining bones disagree with you, sweetheart. Now come on, don't be cruel. You already broke my poor heart when you didn't let me in on the secret. I put my quill down with a sigh and closed the inkwell, hoping its content would not dry out. She had taught me many things, and even if I had grown stronger than her in a few areas, it was obvious that she still used guilt like no one else. She almost made me feel bad for hiding my father's death from her. You know full well I didn't have a choice. The information had to be disclosed to as few people as possible. I know, sweetheart, but I would have liked to be there for you. These past few days mustn't have been easy. No, they weren't indeed. As promised, I quietly walked by Marjorie's side through the garden, but we couldn't take one step before some servant or noble offered me their condolences. I'm so tired of pretending to be sad. I know your father was a flawed man. She paused, looking at me as she seemed to hesitate to say something. I looked at her, intrigued. There was so much contempt in her voice when she spoke of his flaws that she obviously knew something about him, something I probably didn't. But no matter what anyone says, he was your family, your blood. You shouldn't hate him like that, it's not healthy. Especially now that he's dead. I sensed from her tone that I get nothing more from her, at least not today, and I didn't insist, draping myself once again in my indignity. No, that's too easy. You can't just die and expect that all your mistakes will be forgiven. Oh, it's not as if he chose to die. And so, it doesn't change anything. She sighed, and I decided to change the subject before I had to listen to another lecture on the importance of family bonds. But since we're speaking of forgiveness, I need your help. Suspicious, she frowned, although she kept walking calmly between the flower beds. I would like it if you gave me Fear Castle. And that old, dilapidated fortress? What for? Pretending to admire some insects that were flying around the planters, I hesitated for a second. I needed the fortress to buy the Faram's loyalty, but Marjorie held a deep hatred for them. I didn't like lying to her, but I couldn't run the risk that she'd refuse my request. Huh. Tell her the truth, even if she won't like it, keep things vague. Well, I would tell her the truth, but I suppose we're playing this game, so we have to keep things vague. Look, I played Road to Empress, and it really made me very suspicious and careful and all that stuff, you know? And this is kind of like, it's not Road to Empress, it's not that harsh, but you're the one who taught me to keep my cards close to my chest. All I can say is that it's a strategic location from the perspective of 3 separate duchies and that I might need it. Well, like you said, it's been left to rot ever since the Faram revolt. It's nothing more than an old pile of rubble on steep and barren land. You won't miss it. She frowned but shrugged. And do as you wish. Having an empress owing you a favor isn't a bad thing after all. Damn, I already owe favor to 2 people and I just started. Thank you, Marjorie. I knew I could count on you. Relieved, I finally let out a breath I hadn't realized I'd been holding. Knowing the affection Marjorie held for me, I knew that I'd end up convincing her, but as I had a meeting with the Faram heir in 4 days, I didn't have a lot of room for errors. With one less issue weighing on my heart, I continued my walk with a bounce in my step, forgetting for a few minutes the court's problems and plots. Wait, is this the spy master or another guy? He's got longer hair than he used to, no? Oh, it's not. Okay, it's another guy with dark hair. Okay, fine. This was my first time ever meeting Theodore of Faram. I had heard him described as a cold and distant man, but I still didn't expect him to be so glacial. He's hot though, sorry, but you know. I waited for him to deign reply to my greeting, as courtesy demanded, but the silence between us was deafening. He only stood there, staring at me, impassive, without even so much as a good morning or a nice to meet you, while I had to keep smiling not to lose face. Oh, I would not be smiling at him. I think that guys like him would much more respect someone who would not try to placate him and be like, well, if you act like this, I'm gonna act the same and see how you like it and if we get anywhere. I mean, there's a reason he's here, right? So yeah, let's just, you know, Mr. Darcy of the Pharaoh. I had better things to do than engage in a staring contest. Consequently, I swallowed my pride and gestured to one of the chairs around the staff table, where a large map of Clydia had been laid out. I imagine you must be tired after such a long trip. Please sit down. I thought he was going to stay standing there, but he did finally sit down with another word. Without another word, of course, while I took a seat not too far from him. Like I said in my letter, I'd like for the Terrenfell and the Faram to reconcile. The tensions between our two families have lasted long enough, and I imagine your sudden desire to make peace has nothing to do with your upcoming coronation. The Monty-led are eating out of your hand, but the Waldor would never support you, which means you very much need us. Look, sorry for the accent, he seems like he'd have that kind of an accent. I don't know what kind of an accent that is. It's probably like mock Arabic or something. I'm sorry for that, but I'm just doing something, okay? No intention there. Just makes him sound cooler, sorry. Coming as he was from a lineage with a somewhat barbaric reputation. Okay, this is going to get Anyway, he had done a fairly clever analysis of the situation, but I didn't let that stop me. Very much need is a bit strong. Should I remind you that I have the support of the Order, and by extension the Four? The people will follow me. That said, I do wish for my coronation to go as smoothly as possible, and the rest of my rule as well. I'd like to avoid bloodshed altogether if possible, and I fear that the ancestral enmity between our two families might lead us to just that. I mean, so we called him here because we are not on friendly terms, so is it just his personality or does he hate us? It's probably both. Neither you nor I were born when the Faram revolt took place. It's up to us to decide if we want to perpetuate this cycle of conflict, or if we want to build something new. He took on a thoughtful expression and observed me with renewed interest. It's easy for you to forget. You're on the side of the victors. You haven't been rehashing your resentment for 20 years. Precisely. Wouldn't it be easier for you to forget as well, especially if it's been haunting you for that long? Bitch. Spitting facts. Okay, sorry. Even if we were inclined to consider your offer of a reconciliation, how could we trust you? I won't give you a history lesson, but that revolt didn't happen for nothing. He was following me exactly where I was leading, and it took me some effort to repress a smile and keep a businesslike countenance. Firstly, I'm not the same person as my father or my grandfather. It's unfair to distrust me as a result of their actions. And secondly, I'm ready to make a gesture of goodwill if the Faram are ready to make one as well. I'm listening. If you openly support my ascent to the throne, I'm ready to return to your family the Fear Castle Citadel and the lands that go with it. Is it the fortress I just got? This time I savored the true surprise in his eyes when I handed him the deed I had taken the time to prepare. As you know, it was confiscated after the revolt, since it's located at a strategic crossroads between Terranfell and Montilay. I thought it would be a strong gesture to return it to you, but also quite a symbol of trust. After glancing over the signed pledge, Theodore looked at me once more with defiance this time. There's no doubt that my family will appreciate the gesture. I was already basking in my victory when he continued and his voice cold. He's saying his family because he doesn't. That's what he's trying to say. But as for me, it only makes me see that you're one of those politicians ready to use every dirty trick in the book if it will give you what you want. Oh, damn! You got me figured out so quickly. And what are you, Theodore de Faram? You're a man of honor? This is going to be a fun enemies to lovers, right? I had been warned that you're the rightful heir of that snake who used to lead the Montilay, but now I'm seeing it with my own eyes. So yes, indeed, we will accept your offer and support your coronation, because unlike you, we stick to our word, but you should know you're not fooling me. I'll remain at the palace to make sure you don't stab us in the back as soon as you've achieved your goals. Don't threaten me with a good time. In the end, his analysis of the situation, or indeed of my character, wasn't as clever as I had thought. Really? So we're worse than he thinks. That's amazing, and we have not even murdered anyone yet. I was ambitious, there was no denying that. I wasn't shy about it either, but my desire to make peace was just as sincere. Oh, so we're better. Okay, fine. Stay at the castle if you wish. Dukes are welcome here at any time, but you'll get eaten alive by the court if you always speak your mind so plainly, my lord. He shrugged condescendingly before getting up. I mean, if he doesn't speak at all, that works, for him, so that's maybe why he doesn't speak at all, Oh, I'm very capable of defending myself, Majesty. I just choose not to use the same venom as you do. That doesn't mean I don't know how to protect myself from its sting. No one liked being called a snake, but even if it was unpleasant to be treated with such hostility by someone to whom I had never done anything, I had gotten what I wanted. I didn't wish to risk making him change his mind by starting an argument. Time will tell. I do hope you'll change your mind about me, but as long as the Faram uphold their end of the bargain, you're free to think whatever you like. Don't say that as if you're doing me a favor, Your Grace. Even empresses don't have dominion over people's thoughts. You sounded a little... like it struck a nerve there. And in order to keep me from having the last word of our pointless sparring, he immediately turned on his heel and slammed the door. Oh, he doesn't like a challenge, does he, my boy? Furious, I was engaged in deep breathing exercise when Alden walked in. I wouldn't be furious, I would be more amused by this than anything, as I am. How did things go with Theodore of Faram? I shrugged with a sigh. I suppose it was alright, at least the Faram should support my coronation, that's all that matters. How about you, did you manage to convince Leon? As you suspected, he's not inclined to support you. Apparently, he and his brother fear that Calidia will become a second Assyria. Oh, we wouldn't want that, whatever that means, right? It's also interesting You know, games marketed to women kind of always do that, but I mean, it's kind of weird that apparently everyone is like very muscular. Even the guy who just walks around with letters, he doesn't seem like someone who would work out to me, but okay. Look, I prefer normal bodies, okay? Okay, it's fine. He's a scholar, he doesn't have to be ripped, okay? Or whatever. I raised my eyes to the sky, not hiding my exasperation at these words. As if it were enough for a woman to lead the empire for us to become a matriarchy. Have you at least convinced him not to openly oppose the coronation? Yes. As you suggested, I implied that a civil war wouldn't be good for business and that you were easy to manipulate. Nice work. Was that enough? Yes and no. The man's smarter than I thought. He took this as an opportunity to claim the position of treasurer. Treasurer! Look at him go! Since he believes you're incompetent, he thinks that's the only way for him to ensure that the country stays on the right track and that the Voildor's economical interests are preserved. Upset, I bit my lips while I pondered the implications of such a nomination. Well, I don't want a guy to screw with my nice settings. I didn't want him to stand in my way at every council meeting, but there was no valid reason for me to refuse him this privilege either. I imagine before asking for that position, he encouraged the current treasurer to retire. That's correct. A pretty house by the seaside is waiting for him, and now he can't wait to be gone. I imagine we don't have a choice then. I'll summon Leon tomorrow and pretend to be, oh, that's me. Okay, sorry. I'll summon Leon tomorrow and pretend to be a naive ingenue who's happy to let him take on big responsibilities. I sighed heavily and Alden stepped towards me with a discreetly amused smile. Are you sure you'll manage? Manage? Playing the easily influenced ingenue. I sighed, offering him a reassuring smile. It would not be fun having tea with such a conservative man, but there was nothing insurmountable about it. Oh, don't worry about me. I can play dumb when I need to. I've spent my whole life appearing less dangerous than I really am. I should be able to pretend just this once. He might have some nasty surprises down the line, however. He nodded with a gleam of pride in his eyes. Well, it would sure be a shame if, soon after acquiring the position, the treasurer would have a nasty fall or something. That would be bad, right? I trust you then? Your Grace, news of your nomination to the throne has spread quickly. We've received a letter addressed to you from the Queen Meva of Issyria. Oh, Queen! Will she be supportive at least? My respects, Empress of Calidia. I wish to write to you so I could congratulate you on your recent nomination to the throne, as well as offer my condolences for your father's death. Assuming power is a heavy responsibility, but I have been told that you are very capable, and I know that Calidia is in good hands. Calidia and Issyria have always maintained solid diplomatic relations. I hope that they will continue, nay, prosper under your rule. Up until now, the matriarchs have always been opposed to non-commercial negotiations, but your nomination has made them curious. We dare to believe that in your presence, my emissaries and myself will cease to be subjected to the patronizing condescension that your predecessors invariably displayed and that made my country's past rulers so wary of further interactions. Oh, interesting. So, Syria is a matriarchy that is ruled by women. That's what it means. And it's been like that for generations, it seems. And they didn't well, my father, the emperor, and dealing with him and trading with him because he's been condescending. Which I totally get, like, they're the queens, and if they're not gonna respect them, then, you know, no trade goods. The gods whisper to me that your ascension to the throne signals the dawn of a new era for the continent. Therefore, I wish to support you as much as I can. With the matriarch's assent, I have decided to mandate an emissary, whose role it will be to liaise between our two nations. Liaisons, I think, liaise. Her name is Asha Isabis. She is an exceptional woman who I hope will be welcomed into your palace as she deserves. For my sympathy, Maeva, Queen of Assyria. Oh, so we're getting a female love interest, I suppose, then? What is wonderful news! I'll need as many allies as possible during my rule. Indeed. Diplomacy is a delicate art, but it's fundamental for Calidia's prosperity. You'll need to woo the neighboring countries and assure their goodwill towards us. But we'll talk about it later. For now, we have a coronation to organize. I missed what that was. The diplomacy is not available in the demo. Oh, okay. I have heard that before. That's fine. We will learn that later. It's a demo. I think it's quite close to being released, or at least being finished. At least the developer, author, whatever, they provide updates quite frequently, so the game is worked on. While for example, Demons told me to make this game out on a hiatus, and I'm not even sure about the Winter Wedding, so there are not many news on the other games, but I think this has a great chance of being finished and released quite soon. The big day had finally come. Impatient and nervous, I paced my bedroom while checking my hair and my outfit for the umpteenth time. Yeah, I chose her a fancy gown. Apparently, it's called the... Is it here? Gallery map and resources credits. Ooh, we can look at the map. Astro Calidia is here. And Fargus, Meridian, Ombe, and Assyria is this nice island. And there's my wardrobe, and I can change what to wear. And this apparently is the husband maker. So I chose very fancy very fancy formal gown. And I mean, look at us. We look like the hot widow. That's amazing. My outfit is great. Nothing was easy, as per usual. I was supposed to display poise, elegance, and grandeur, all while remaining humble. Alright then. Despite all that, I felt ready and dignified, and I only waited to hear from Alexander, who would escort me since my father wasn't in a state to do so. I also think we can die in the demo, because there are achievements for that. I just don't know if I've been incredibly lucky so far, or it's gonna come up later, like maybe one chance to die or not. Oh wow! He's got a very fancy armor, and we are matching quite nicely with the red and all. He's like the childhood friend love interest, and then there's the enemies to lovers love interest, and then there's the... I don't know how to even call our advisor, if he's a love interest, I suppose. Like, I think he is. But yeah, this is the good guy, the childhood friend, and all that. Time was passing by at an infuriatingly slow pace when finally he knocked and walked into the room, clad in his ceremonial attire. That armor and the pompous cape that went with it didn't suit him, and I suppressed a smile when I saw him squeeze into it. I don't know, he looks quite magnificent. But he is kind of boyish still, I suppose. Ready, Your Grace? Almost timidly, I nodded while he politely bowed to let me pass in front of him. Then he followed suit, respectfully walking one step behind. Her Grace, Lyra de Terrinfell, Princess of Calidia, Duchess of Terrinfell, Lady of Vermont, blessed by Horrell. I closed my eyes and savored this title that I was hearing for the last time. When the herald would announce me next, I would be Empress of Calidia. Oh, we do get a throne room scene, nice. I didn't remember having ever seen the throne room this packed. Clearly, when I had been told that the entire castle had gathered here, it hadn't been an exaggeration. Okay, so all the characters we know, plus this one new guy, and maybe there's a diplomatic lady or someone. To try and hide my nervousness, I walked at a slow pace, my head held high, my eyes leveled at the throne. But my curiosity slowly got the better of me, and while I tried to remain as dignified as I could, I let my gaze wander discreetly in search of familiar faces. Alden, of course, stood right next to my throne, his face impassive, but his eyes bright enough that I could see the pride reflected in them. I don't know, maybe he's a nicer guy than I give him credit for. Robert was there too, my future crown already held in his hands. He did his best to appear as imposing as his function required him to be. In the nobles section, I recognized Leon of Voildor, surrounded by his family, conversing with other nobles who were vaguely familiar to me. Is Leon the one we owe something to? Is it him? I'm not sure. To my surprise, I also spotted Theodore leaning against a pillar, his gloomy aura seeming to hold people at bay so that he wasn't drowning in unknown faces. He's just an introvert. As I passed by her, Marjorie gave me a smile and I felt her perfume reach me, calming me despite its loud scent. Finally, the last steps stretched before me and I suddenly realized that I couldn't hear the crowds above anymore. The only sound was my heart beating in my temples. Ceremoniously, I knelt in front of this throne that was still forbidden to me. Soon I had cause to praise whoever had the brilliant idea to place a small cushion under my knees. The blessings were proceeding at an infuriatingly slow pace. I listened to them with only half an ear, but I still displayed my most serious and focused face to honor the solemnity of the ceremony. The day before, Robert had asked me if I wanted to celebrate tradition by taking the name of one of my predecessors, or if I'd rather start my own dynasty. Huh. I can keep my name and be the Lyra or whatever, or I can honor my ancestors and my reign name will be Melisandre II. I suppose that's fine enough and it can make people happy, but maybe it has no influence on the story whatsoever. I was proud of who I was, but honoring tradition was important. And I had always greatly admired Melisandre of Terrinfell, Queen of Terrinfell, and first Empress of Calidia. Well, at least it's a woman's name, so I guess that's nice, honoring another woman and not one of the men who are condescending and all. Certainly she had lived in her husband's shadow, but she had never fully retreated behind him, and she wielded her influence and her determination in many an occasion. She was a role model, an inspiration for me, and I was proud to carry her name. I didn't know the sermon by heart, but I knew it would soon be ending since the whole place seemed to grow livelier. With each passing second, both the crowd and Robert's voice vibrated with renewed excitement until the key moment came. I closed my eyes and braced myself for the wave of the surprisingly life crown that he delicately placed upon my head. Rise up, Melisandre II, the Terranfell Empress of Caledia, Duchess of Terranfell, Lady of Vermont, chosen by the Four and blessed by Horrell. You shall bow no longer, since from this day and until your death, in the name of the gods, I entrust you with the charge of guiding your subjects and making Caledia shine bright for decades to come. Slowly I rose and turned around to sit on the throne that had been meant for me. Then I opened my eyes to look at the crowd. It suddenly went quiet, and an almost religious silence settled in for a few seconds. Long live Empress Melisandre II! Alexander's voice resounded next to me, oddly loud, and as it shattered this almost dreamlike moment, cheers arose from all sides in a spectacular chaos. The general enthusiasm was contagious, and I caught myself smiling and waving at the crowd with a bit too much vigor. Yeah, it's a lady here. My look has been modified to match an upcoming illustration. Okay. It sometimes happens, I suppose. So did you can see some new illustration, I think. The party was in full swing, and if I was still beaming, my head was starting to hurt with the incessant solicitations of people come to pay their respects. You should empty this glass into a flower pot and ask one of the servants to pour you grape juice instead. Or maybe I had had too much wine. If I was being honest, I couldn't remember how many times my glass had been refilled, but one thing I knew, it had never stayed empty. Even if Marjorie was probably right, I pouted. Come on, Marjorie, am I not allowed to have a bit of fun? It is my coronation day after all. She shook her head with a tender smile. You can do this precisely because it's your coronation day, sweetheart. Some people might be subtle about it than others, but everyone is watching you and judging you. She was right, and I knew it. I had let myself relax, perhaps a bit too much, carried away by my enthusiasm. That acknowledgement didn't stop me from heaving a deep sigh of despair. Well, I didn't come here to coddle you. I know you're perfectly capable of managing the situation. I just wanted to officially congratulate you. No one deserves this title more than you, and you'll make an incredible empress. Her face sparkled with pride and affection, and I felt my heart melt under her praise. Her opinion had always mattered a lot to me, and I felt myself go back to the little girl I once was, who always sought her approval. I hesitated for an instant, but finally I let myself gently hug her, making sure not to spill my glass on her in the process. Damn girl, you did not even put the glass down. Put the glass down, you had enough. Thank you, Marjorie. Thank you for everything. She kindly stroked my hair and I stayed in her embrace for a few moments, just long enough to regain control of my emotions, which were threatening to make me cry. She gently patted my back to remind me of my duties, and I finally let go of her, my face now wearing a more neutral expression. Go on, sweetheart, I won't keep you any longer. People are queuing to talk to you. And I'm drunk, well that's amazing. She was right. As much as they tried to hide it, many people stood nearby waiting for an opportunity to pounce on me as soon as I'd be free. The quickest to the mark was a young woman I had never seen before. One look at the pretty dreadlocks she sported, decorated with small golden jewels, told me her background. Oh, so the Assyria or something is like an African-inspired country. Like, it looks like it has some Nubian, maybe Egyptian influences. Magnificent coronation, Your Grace. Okay, her melodious accent that I did not do at all convinced me I was right, and I flashed her a gorgeous smile. Thank you, Lady Asha, are you not? She seemed surprised for a second and her face lit up. Oh well, I'm flattered. You recognized me before I could even introduce myself. I don't know who spoke of me to you, but I do hope they said good things. Yeah, I should probably, if I knew how to do a net freaking accent, I should probably do that, but I don't know how to do it, so look, I'm not good with accents. That's how it is. And this is fantasy. Give me a break. She gave a small laugh as if to brush off this pleasantry, which I knew had a much deeper meaning. After all, I had indeed heard a lot about her, both from Queen Maeva, who had warmly recommended her to me, and from Robert, who had tried to paint her as an ungodly heathen and temptress the minute she had set foot in the capital. Oh yeah, holy men don't like women that have power and are confident in their bodies and stuff, you know. Of course, your queen keeps showering you with praise. Then allow me to return her kindness and to tell you how fantastic Maeva is. She'll make a formidable ally. Her familiar way of talking about her ruler made me quirk an eyebrow, but I didn't mention it. After all, Assyrian customs were much different from ours, and her relationship with her queen was none of my concern. Yeah, she's the queer girl. As long as she didn't use the same casual tone while talking about Khalidian nobility, there would be no issue. In any case, I do hope Khalidia is still liking Lady Asha. Unfortunately, I still haven't had the time to visit your beautiful lands and to taste your many specialties. Therefore, the question may be a bit premature. She gave me a smile, but it didn't reach her eyes, which made me see that her answer was an elegant way to not speak ill of the place without lying. She's probably, oh, the weather is very shitty, so... Now that it was my castle and my nation, it did upset me a little. But I couldn't be mad at her for finding the place a bit drab. My father had never had a keen eye for interior design. I was about to ask her more futile questions when Robert stepped into the space between us, trying to save me from the temptation, no doubt. The gesture was overtly rude, but his position allowed him to act in that manner, and I turned away from Asha to listen to what he had to say. Your Majesty, please forgive me for interrupting, but I must speak with you on a topic of the utmost importance. He barely hid the dirty look he gave Asha. She understood the message and gracefully curtsied. I'll go breathe some fresh air in the gardens, if you'll excuse me, Your Majesty. I mentally took note of where to find her if I wanted to continue the conversation and bowed to her in lieu of goodbye. Then I focused my attention on Robert, wondering with some trepidation if something bad had happened. What's going on? Don't worry, Your Majesty, nothing that will spoil your night. I just wanted to make sure that you were taking my warnings about the Assyrian diplomat seriously. Yeah, I clocked that. I don't find her trustworthy at all. I had to hold back a sigh. It was quite distressing to see him go to such trouble, only to interrupt my conversation with a foreign dignitary. Please be comforted, she wasn't inviting me to dance naked in the sea in honor of the snake goddess Sif. I had said that in a playful tone. I did not. Hoping to lighten the mood, but he looked even more upset. You should take this issue at heart. These people are insidious. They seem nice, you let your guard down, and by the time you realize you've fallen into the trap of a witch, it's much too late. Oh, do I sense some lore here, Robert? Have you fallen into the trap of a witch that broke your heart after a very passionate night or something? I didn't have the patience to hear more of this, and I took an offended expression. I wasn't really religious, but it wasn't the point. My faith for the four was sincere, and I was truly offended. I don't think we're the religious sort. Even if I had my doubts about the real existence of the gods, I knew the influence of the order and how powerful religion was in general. Unlike Alexander, I couldn't afford to openly proclaim my doubts or let anyone assume that I wasn't a good believer. Fortunately, I was very good at pretending to be offended. Do you believe my faith could be so easily shaken, High Priest? Taken aback, he immediately softened and apologized profusely. I relaxed in turn. I'm taking note of your worries, and I promise I'll be careful. But you must also understand that you simply cannot say such things about a foreign guest, especially not in public. This could have serious diplomatic consequences. He scowled once more but didn't say a word, politely bowing instead. I understand, Your Grace. A short silence passed between us before he turned away, mumbling something about prayers he had to make. For my soul, no doubt. For the first time of the night I found myself alone. And no one came to talk to me, perhaps for fear of getting caught in the fallout from this tense conversation. I enjoyed that respite and decided to go talk too. Can I do all of them, or is this like a choice? Choose one thing. I could talk more to Asha. Like, I'm not romantically interested in her. She's definitely an interesting woman, I'm sure. And would be a good friend. I could talk to Theodore, or I could talk to Alexander. I don't know, I think talking to Theodore is the most fun. Mr. Grumpy. Oh, his face says it all. He looks so freaking annoyed. And I mean, if we go talk to him while he's trying his best to look menacing and not like someone you should talk to, let's annoy him a little and go talk to him. He wasn't hard to spot since he was nonchalantly leaning against a wall in the most deserted corner of the throne room, snubbing the drinks as well as the buffet. A few ladies were ogling him, but they didn't dare come close, and I could understand them. They were like, oh, he's handsome, but damn, he's killing. He's gonna kill me with that glare, I'm sure. He doesn't seem very interested. His gloomy face wasn't inviting me to chat with him either, but as Marjorie had reminded me, these kinds of parties weren't meant for my own enjoyment. They too were tools of the political game. I mean, in real life, I would probably be too scared to go talk to someone like that too. I'm not necessarily shy, but I'm not good at striking a conversation. I'm good at keeping it going or something, but if someone looked so uninterested to talk to me, and especially if I had like a little crush on him, I would probably be also like too scared. But this is a game, so it seems just like so fun to go talk to the most menacing person here. It mattered to strengthen my bond with the Faram, and even more to show the court that our enmity was now in the past. Very practical, very practical. Lost in his thoughts, he didn't seem to see me until I leaned back on the cool marble wall right next to him. The party isn't to your liking, my lord of Faram. If he was surprised, he didn't show it, and he raised his eyes to meet mine before scanning me from head to toe. Huh. I'm not particularly fond of these displays of vanity, no, he says, dressed in very fancy clothes with like silver embroidery and probably from silk or something. I mean, that was certainly a take on things, but it didn't give me much room to react. I grew thoughtful as I considered what I should say, unsure how to communicate with someone this closed off. The idea struck me when I heard the tune of a waltz floating through the air. I immediately straightened up. You should invite me to dance. I would be offended if you did not, since I am the empress and you have to. It was worth it, if only to see his stunned face. In fact, he seemed so shocked that his scowling gnome-like mask disappeared, making him look surprisingly fragile. See, it's maybe why I go for this type, because me myself, there's been times in my life that I looked also very closed off and menacing probably to other people. I was dressed in full goth and all that because I was scared of people. Because I had bad experience with them and I just wanted to be left alone, and if they feared me and respected me, then they would leave me alone or at least not try any shit, so it worked. So, you know, I kind of expect that there may be some softy hiding beneath the surface. And it's usually like that in fiction, maybe not so much in real life, I don't know. I beg your pardon? You said it yourself, we're in the middle of a show and appearances are everything. I can see that you're not willing to chit-chat, but people are watching us. Neither you nor I want the court to think that the crown and the pharaoh are still adults, so shall we dance? That is, unless you don't know how to dance, of course. He hesitated, but my last comment seemed to tick him off, and he dryly dusted off his jacket. Of course I know how to dance. Well then, prove it. This time I didn't leave him a choice, and I curtsied as if I had just accepted his invitation. He looked at my hand with suspicion, as if simply touching it was going to burn him, but finally he took it and led me a bit further towards the center of the room where other guests were already dancing. I was almost surprised to find his fingers pleasantly warm. Well, at least they're not sweated. His behavior was so cold that part of me expected his skin to be freezing like that of a devilish creature. Out of curiosity, as much as out of deference, we were given much more room than necessary, and other couples stepped aside or completely left the floor to observe us. My talents as a dancer were alright, but they weren't extraordinary. I felt nervous despite myself as I tried to keep my head high and my back straight, as dignified as possible. He was suddenly very tense for someone who threw a tantrum to be invited to a dance. Of course he had felt it, and his smile, sincere for once, showed that he had fun teasing me, and made me grumble. Just lead properly, will you? I heard a hint of a laugh while he waited for the right measure and slid into the dance with surprising fluidity. He wasn't lying, he knew how to dance very well even, despite his badly positioned hand, a bit too high and not firmly enough to properly lead me. I could anticipate his movements with ease. He was a good guide, and his own gestures were precise and gracious. On the one hand, I was glad that everything was working out, but on the other, it bothered me a little to acknowledge his merits. Should I compliment him or piss him off? What's the best approach here? Look, you know, I want, like, whether or not we romance him. The goal here is to, like, improve our relations. So on one hand, I can compliment him, which usually would be the correct thing to do. But on the other hand, he can also take this as a proof that I'm an insincere snake. So I could also criticize him, and either it will piss him off or make him respect me more, and I don't know. Maybe let's not be too eager, shall we? let's criticize him a little. I have a feeling he'll be a good sport about it, but I don't know. Since he hadn't been shy about teasing me, he deserved to get a taste of his own medicine. Nonchalantly, I grabbed his arm to force him to correct his posture, making sure that his hand held my waist firmly, instead of barely grazing it like it had been so far. Oh, so we also made him touch us more, so... My gesture seemed to throw him off, and I felt him falter for a moment, threatening to make us lose the perfect rhythm that he had imposed. It's just a waist, my lord. Surely you've touched a woman before. It gave me the perfect opportunity to strike, and I took revenge for his petty comments. You're not a bad dancer, but your steps could be neater, my dear. Besides, your hand is still too high up. He muttered a few incomprehensible words, among which I thought I had diabolical, but I didn't respond. I was relishing his embarrassment enough to spare him further comments. Besides, it took all my focus not to let myself savor my triumph too openly. Neither of us opened our mouths until the last measure played, and we finally separated in an elegant curtsy under scattered applause. Look, I am a romantasy reader and a writer, so this is very fun for me, okay? Well, I thank you for this moment, Theodore. I won't keep you busy any longer. I see you having quite some success. Out of the corner of my eye, I glanced at the young ladies who had gotten closer and now waved their fans while ostensibly ogling the Lord of Farang. Perhaps they had more respect for etiquette than I did, since none of them dared to accost him and openly ask for a dance. Still, he sighed and glared at me, apparently holding me responsible for the sudden attention he was receiving. Well, I probably encouraged them, because they've seen like, oh, he is available for dancing, so maybe it'll be my turn next. I ruthlessly abandoned him to his admirers and was surprised to see him play the part of the courteous gentleman after all smiles and polite comments. Wow, so he's just cold to me, huh? That's how it is. Clearly, I was the only one for whom he refused to make such an effort. Why are you pouting? You're also the only one who threw him off so successfully. I'll take that as a win. And we're back to our basic clothes. I maybe want to change my crown a minute. And give me a minute. Oh, I only have one. Okay. So I can't change it. I don't know, it looks... It clashes a little with my necklace. Look, I'm into fashion, okay? So I can see that. Maybe I just should... Okay, 1 second. 1 second, it bothers me a little. It bothers me a little. Too much. Still too much. Let's keep it like this. Maybe what? No. Keep it like this. Alright. We don't have a fighting attire because I did not take the white background that is needed for that, I think. Your Grace, as you surely know, an essential task that comes with your role as a ruler is to listen to your subjects' petitions. They've accumulated since your father's death, and even before. He was never very fond of the duty. Now that you've been crowned, you'll need to dedicate them a fair share of your time. It's especially important because the other advisors and myself have gotten used to lodging petitions on matters that require attention but do not fit into the council's agenda. I'm ready, explain it to me. Let's wait for the tutorial. All of this is very new to me, I won't say no to further explanations. Petitions are matters that require your informed judgment, whether they pertain to trials, grand requests, or other various issues. The other advisors and myself are usually tasked with submitting them, but we may also pass on requests coming directly from the subjects. I divide them into 2 stacks, urgent affairs and current affairs. Of course, urgent affairs must be attended as soon as possible. I've added an exclamation mark to the stack for more clarity. As long as all urgent affairs haven't been dealt with, I won't give you any current affairs, so as not to distract you with futile matters. As with everything that requires your input, petitions might necessitate the mobilization of certain resources, but don't forget that they can also offer opportunities. Good decisions can turn out to be quite lucrative. Finally, you must keep in mind that improving the living conditions of your people will ensure their affection for you and, in the long run, will contribute to the realm's prosperity. Is that clear? It all makes sense. I mean, I probably did not need that explanation. I know what petitions are, but it's nice to know they are urgent and current and all that stuff. Perfect. I suggest that you deal with one of mine first. It's an issue that's been on my mind for a while. He took a moment to rummage through the items on the table before handing me a sealed parchment roll. Here you go. Oh, well then, I'll let you study that on your own and go about your business. Feel free to go through more of them, so you can grow familiar with the process. You will be informed of the outcome in due time. So, I can do petitions now. Even if the crown is yours, I'd be wary of your bastard brothers. For some, an illegitimate son is far better than a woman, and I wouldn't want the nobility to use this excuse so they can rid of you the first chance they get. Ah, this is the Game of Thrones level, let's get rid of the bastards, isn't it? He's a ruthless man. I've tasked the Master of Mermaids with investigating them. At the moment, it seems that most of them live a modest life as craftsmen or servants, but the simplest minds can be the easiest to sway, especially since you haven't established any bond with them, which means that nothing will stop them from betraying you. I suggest dealing with the issue in a permanent way. Yeah. Let's be a cruel ruler and kill them all, huh? You're right, it's better not to take any risks, though I love these methods. I can risk a civil war or a coup. I've given too much of myself to end up like that, have them assassinated. As long as they haven't done anything to me, I refuse to let paranoia get the best of me and have them assassinated. However, I do recognize that my half-brothers are a threat, and I believe we should definitely keep an eye on them, assign spies to each of them, and we'll decide how to react if they start plotting against me. I refuse to become a tyrant like my father and to let paranoia trap me in a spiral of violence, so I'll take the opposite approach. I'll make them happy, which should ensure that they don't have any desire to take my title from me or to cause me harm. Send someone to ask them what they want and do your best to satisfy their wishes, but make sure they're aware of my role as their patron. I think this could make them a little too cocky, and you can never count on people's loyalty, cause if you don't know them, if they have not proven to you over time that they are loyal, don't just expect them to be because you gave them some money. Money is not enough to buy loyalty for most people. They take that as my life's wisdom or something. So murder them or watch them and murder them later. I'm always for watch them and murder them later. Your Grace, all our spies are in place and for the moment they haven't noticed anything suspicious. Following the first report, I've decided to set up increased surveillance on Aaron Willis, who appears to be having a fling with the daughter of a local lord and Yassine Le Cordonnier, as he is at the Count of Vira's court. I'll keep you updated on the situation's evolution. Master of Murmurs. Okay, good. Very good. Oh wow. Okay. So, number of remaining turns, like till the end of the demo or something. So I can do petitions, I can do politics. Events is not available. Let's look at the petitions. Your Grace, the guards have finally caught the thief who has been looting Astorok's great fair for a few months now. It turns out that the thief wasn't a man, as we expected, but a woman. And a tough one at that. Well, my respects. Execute. Despite the trap I laid out, which was perfectly executed, she managed to kill many of our men in her attempt to flee justice. Okay, a new plan, recruit her to my army. The town guard is very upset by the Master of Murmurs was swayed by the thief's talents, huh? He knows what's up, my guy. He'd like for her to be exempt from justice so he can make her one of his agents. Personally, I'm against the idea. This woman isn't trustworthy and she deserves to be punished for her crimes, but decision is yours to make. General Alexander. Ah, I think it's a shame to kill such a resourceful person, and she in this case, it can go either way. She can be loyal because we saved her life and gave her employment and all. She probably has been looting fair because she's poor and needs to eat. I can understand it. Or she can just be a snake, but I'd give her a chance. We have two. The Master of Mermaids knows how to spot rare talents. If he wants to train her, then this girl must truly have great potential. We always need good agents to serve the crown. It seems a waste to let her talents rot in a cell. Give a few coins to the families of the deceased. That should be enough to ease their bitterness, that the guilty party will escape judgment. Well, why tell them? I wouldn't tell them. I would just... You know, if she's a spy, probably you don't want everyone to know who she is. Money. I don't have much money, but I guess I have to use it here. Minus 10 people plus 5 influence. Oh no. So I didn't know what will happen. Wait, what was the... No, people did not like it, obviously. Your decision to let me take Minerva under my wing. Under my wig. He doesn't look like he's wearing a wig, but what do I know? It was wise, indeed. She is even more talented than I thought. All she needed was structure and a goal to things that I have provided her. I still have to perfect her training, but I do not doubt for a second that she will be a remarkable asset in the future, Your Grace. Okay, I'm glad about that. Oh wait, number of remaining turns means how much I can do this time? Oh yeah, politics. Did I change something? Oh, I have very little. Oh, wait. I am stupid. That's not how much I always get. That's how much I have. And I need to gain some. Okay. I have good enough army. Let's maintain it for now. I have enough influence. Yeah, the purple is influence. I have some goods and I'm gaining more. I'm gaining army, I'm gaining religion. I could be gaining less religion, but then I would be also losing people. I don't want that. I don't think I need to be gaining nobility right now. I need money more than influence and nobility from this. And that's all I could do. Okay. I was truly glad to be empress now, but as I had expected, I hadn't had a single moment to myself since my coronation. There was an endless and continuous stream of people paying their respects to me and of more or less futile issues to solve. Even if I was happy to finally be able to exercise my power legitimately, I also felt that I needed a break. Just after taking care of the most urgent matters, I had decided to take a moment to relax in my bedroom. You'll talk with Alexander. The gardens, you'll talk with Asha. The library, you'll talk with Theodore. Should I just go and pursue Theodore? Or I mean maybe I should, for your sake, to let you get to know the other characters more too. I mean, it's free, you can play it and romance whoever you like. I mean, it's free for now because it's the demo, but you know what I mean. Let's talk to Asha for a minute. Taking a breath of fresh air seemed like the best way to replenish my reserves of energy, especially since the weather was lovely. And I also just like going to the garden, so that's very much in character. I aimlessly walked along the garden trails, filling my lungs with clean air when I saw Asha sitting on a bench, her eyes closed, her head thrown back. She looked so peaceful that I wondered if she was sleeping, and I approached her as stealthily as I could, trying not to wake her up. My spying talents must have been rather unimpressive, since she heard me and opened her eyes to look at me. With a smile, she politely bowed her head. Good day, your majesty. Are you here to take a sunbath as well? She unceremoniously motioned to the bench, inviting me to join her. Although I was surprised by such familiarity, I was still tempted, and I sat down on the smooth wood, comfortably warmed up by the sun. It would be a crime to have such a beautiful garden and not to want to take advantage of it. I can only approve. This is my favorite spot in the palace, alongside the library. I softly smiled at her, letting a lazy silence settle between us until I felt the need to start a conversation. So tell me, do you enjoy Calidia? It's a beautiful place, but as beautiful as it may be, it only reminds me how much more beautiful my island is. I had never been to Issyria, but I had heard the most wondrous descriptions of it. I could understand her homesickness, but at the same time, I felt a touch of chauvinism stir within me. This isn't a contest, Asha. I had said that in a joking manner to hide my scowl, but she didn't budge, showcasing once more her talent for subtle backtalk. That's good, because you would lose. That's not very diplomatic of her, is it? She's as bad of a diplomat as I would be, let's put it that way. This would have annoyed me from most people, but her pert little expression simply made me want to play along, and I replied just as mischievously. If you're feeling so homesick, I can always send you back. And deprive you of the only person with a sense of humor in your court. I hardly doubt that, Your Grace. Especially since this place is in dire need of feminine presence. The ratio would crash were you to send me away. Her remark made me laugh briefly but openly. If what they say about this Syria is true, I suppose it must be strange for you to see many men holding power. Oh yes, and it just comforts me in the certainty that we've done the right call letting women rule. If only the rest of my people could hear what you're saying. You think your gender might stand in the way of your rule? Obviously. Don't forget I'm only here because my brother is dead and my father never married. I've been crowned, but I know many people still doubt my abilities and my legitimacy. And yet, do you feel up to the task? I definitely am up to it. There wasn't a hint of doubt in my voice. My entire life had been built around this rule that was now mine. I should seem deep in thought. Have you been preparing yourself? To the best of my abilities, yes. I've read books, many books, on many different subjects. I've listened to my elders' advice too. But well, there isn't exactly a course organized by the scholars for all this. But there isn't one, really. Where I'm from, potential future queens receive a very strict education from an early age, which is destined to make them the best possible rulers everything is planned for. And even if you follow that curriculum, in order to be crowned, you still need to undergo a whole battery of tests, supervised by the matriarchs. A queen can only be appointed once she's proven her discernment and her value. Impressed with a system that was completely strange to me, I took in the information with curiosity. Do you think that's effective? Nothing's ever perfect, but we haven't had a single tyrant since the system has been set up. I'd only say it fosters a certain inertia. Our queens are the protectors of our people. To fulfill their duty, they abandon their names, dedicate themselves to the task, and follow that long training which shapes them. That preserves us from the ambition of a single person who could decide to satisfy their thirst for power at the expense of others, but when you look closely, none of the 12 queens of the kingdom particularly stand out. Her analysis seemed thorough and far from the simple chauvinistic admiration that I had initially suspected of animating her. That prompted me to take some time as well and ponder before answering. I see. It's true that reigns on the continent are often eventful, but I do think that sometimes a strong-headed leader with a distinct personality is what's best to guide a nation in time of crisis. As I've told you, Your Grace, nothing is ever perfect. And I wasn't trying the slightest to cast doubt on your reign to come. If that's what you were thinking, if I was wary of you, I wouldn't have told you all those things. Thank you for your trust. Ever since my coronation taken place, I haven't had a minute to step back and take everything in. Perhaps I'm too defensive. The weight of the responsibilities that come with your title would break many people's backs, believe me. But you can't neglect yourself either, Your Grace. A tree worn down by the tantrums of nature isn't robust enough to bear its fruits. And even on that count, I think Syria is ahead of you. If you want to wind down one day, I'll show you one of those massages we're famed for. A malicious spark flickered in her eyes, and coupled with the slightly husky tone of her voice, it made me blush. Eager to hide my embarrassment, I took refuge in humor. If you weren't a woman, I'd have sworn that your proposition in me. Oh, I was definitely flirting with you, Your Grace. Oh. Her frankness took me aback, and I found myself stunned silent. Nobles were fond of these kinds of false seduction games, but I had never seen it take place between two women. And that made me uncomfortable, and that made me want to play alone. Asha will continue to flirt with you even if you don't romance her. Asha won't flirt with you outside of romance scenes anymore. Hey, that's very nice. That's very nice, because I think it's great that you have the option to be like, oh, no, I'm not into this. Or possibly you can do something like that maybe with the guys too, if you want to date Asha. Because, yeah, she's nice enough, but I'm not into flirting with her really. So let's say it made me uncomfortable. When she saw my embarrassment, Asha traded her small smile for a truly sorry look. Oh, forgive me, Your Grace. I didn't want to upset you. I understand that this behavior might be too unusual on these shores. You just so... For a moment, I forgot where I was. It was a game. I didn't have any true ulterior motives. Let's forget about this, alright? Yes, of course. You're still the only person with a sense of humor in this court, remember that? She let out a hearty laugh and nodded, and I suddenly felt lighter. I shouldn't bother you any longer. I'm afraid my little nap has dragged on rather longer than I'd planned, but it was a pleasure talking to you, Your Grace. All the pleasure's mine, Asha. Okay, I have 3 new stuff. You want to do some politics? People 10, nobility 15, man 9, religion 14. It looks very, very good. Very good. Good. Let's cancel this. And let's do petitions. Your Grace, I have discovered that someone has placed pagan talismans in the palace. One was even found in your living quarters. Oh no. I do not think that these amulets hold any sort of power, but the intentions are quite real. I cannot bear the thought that someone wishes to curse you. With the Master of Murmur's help, we have identified the servant behind these talismans. We have, however, stayed discreet. We will await your orders before we take action. This could give us an opportunity to learn more about the situation. General Alexander. Well, we shall not encourage this because... we can interrogate her or fire her, and it's both free, or we can spend to keep an eye on her and maybe learn more about the intentions of her and other pagans. And, well, they probably don't like me because my rule was very much supported by the 4 and the highest priest or whoever cardinal, whatever it's called. I don't remember. Do we want to deal with this? It could become a bigger problem. Let's maybe do this. We are actively keeping an eye on Miranda, but for the time being we have not learned anything. Apart from a few ridiculous and harmless rituals, her life is just as mundane as it is boring, and she does not seem to be meeting with other pagans or actively working to bring about your downfall. Okay, so we could have just arrested her or something. Well, foreign. Your Grace, this won't be an easy task, but I'd like to suggest a modification of the current inheritance law in use since Magnus I. The goal would be to simplify it and avoid potential bloodbaths in the absence of a male heir. Taking inspiration from the rather vague rules of the First Kingdom of Terranfall, which had allowed Melisandre to become queen, I suggest changing the law so that the firstborn of the family becomes the heir regardless of their gender. Ooh. There's no doubt that such a big change might not please everyone, but I do think that in the long run this would only benefit Khalidia. Alden. Ooh, and it's interesting that it comes from Alden because I think he would be more careful and politically cautious. Like, I think this is a good idea. Very good idea, but I think it's something we shouldn't be doing in the first month of our rule. We should first establish ourselves as the empress and make sure our position is secure and then people are used to us and, because. And I don't even have children. Is it like, is this going to help me like strengthen my right to the throne? I don't know. What are the options? I'm here to embody change even if they don't like it. This new law will be promulgated and we will have to be uncompromising in its application so it takes root. It's all free, that's nice. Such a change would be beneficial, but it will be hard to overturn the customs of an entire nation, amend the law but bake into it the possibility for a family head to designate in their will another heir amongst their children. If they believe the eldest isn't fit to govern, that will allow the most stubborn among them to circumvent the rule, but will solve the issue of a situation similar to mine arises. Well, that could backfire too, because then they would fight over the. I mean, it all can backfire, because even if you know the eldest is going to rule, if you know the eldest is going to rule and you want to be the one who rules, you could try to get rid of them. That happened a lot in history. At the same time, if someone else is designated and you're the eldest, you might try to get rid of the one designated. While it would also fight for the affections of the king or queen who will choose the heir all the time. Not ideal for the stability of a kingdom. Uh-huh. Or we can leave the law as it is, but clarify. Let's just add an amendment specifying that in the absence of a first-degree male heir, or a will indicating otherwise, a female heir will be preferred if there is one. Uh-huh. I don't know, should we do bad compromise or even worse compromise, or get ourselves killed in the first week of our rule? Uh okay, let's make this compromise. A few nobles gnashed their teeth when they saw these changes, but since they're still able to elect their sons, they only bear their fangs on principle. Overall, I believe the law has been well received. Many people have recognized that indeed it will help avoid useless and bloody succession wars. Okay, not that bad. And now I lost a lot of nobility. So maybe I need to get some more. The days passed by in a blur, all similar to each other. New petitions to manage, new events to participate in, influential people to flatter. I had never had any illusions. I had always known that my life as an empress would be mainly paced by paperwork and diplomatic discussions, but sometimes it got a bit much. Yeah, we got some ruling and then we do some flirting, that's how this goes. I knew these decisions I was making could change lives and minds, and I hoped that under my rule my kingdom would prosper. But I couldn't see the results of my hard work after a mere few weeks. I had to settle for little victories, and sometimes I caught myself hoping for something, anything, to disrupt my day. Unfortunately, nothing seemed to be on the cards. Your Grace, would you have a few moments to spare me? Oh, finally! Came to save me from my boredom. Started life with my daydreaming. I looked at the unfinished letter in front of me and pushed it aside to give my full attention to the Master of Murmurs, who removed his hood after closing the door. Of course, I'm all ears. Today, a wandering caravan coming from Vargas was attacked by bandits while they were crossing the Elm Bridge. The merchandise was stolen, the guards were killed, and the people in the caravan are now being held hostage to be ransomed. By the Ford, it's awful! I was now used to be the one who must find solutions, and I immediately started going through them in my mind. That bridge is a strategic location, it should have been better protected. We'll send men over there, and I'll ask Marjorie to send hers as well. Our men are close by, they should be able to secure the area and limit the disruptions to that heavily trafficked commercial road. And put a bounty on these bandits. We have to find the hostages and deal with their captors as decisively as possible. Patiently, he let me finish, but I saw his expression. I realized there was more to it, and I frowned. Is there something in particular that I should know about this caravan, Master of Murmurs? Softly he nodded. Amongst the captured people is one of my agents, a master of spying and infiltration. He had been in Vargas for a few months to keep an eye on family of nobles, and he was urgently coming back with some vital information. Does it have to do with my father's assassination? Do you think Vargas is guilty of it? No, at first glance there's no connection. Your father's assassination is still under investigation, even if I have to admit that at the moment we're somewhat stalled. Then what is this about? It's precisely the issue, I don't know. Apparently it was crucial information. My agent has always been excessively prudent. He feared that his mail might be intercepted, and therefore he was reluctant to send me written information, even if our messages are always coded. So, you're telling me that one of our spies who infiltrated Vargas has been captured not far from the border while he was coming back with information of the utmost importance, and that you have no clue what that is? Finally, now that the four had decided to grant my wish of a little more excitement, I started regretting wishing for it in the first place. The situation didn't bode well. That's correct. Like you, I do find this coincidence suspicious, but we can be sure of anything. If they just wanted to cover their tracks, they could have simply killed him right there and then, as well as the guards. Maybe they just got rid of the body? We can't exclude that possibility, but we've received a demand of ransom, addressed to his family like the other four hostages. I don't know. Well, in any case, we have to clear this situation quickly. Do you have other agents stationed in Vargas who could try to learn what our spy knows? A few, yes, but I'm afraid that they won't be discreet enough if they were to approach the same people. The decision is yours to make. It's dangerous, but still we have to try. I wouldn't try here, probably. We don't want any diplomatic disaster on our hands. It can bite us in the ass, but everything can, so... Let's do... nothing. I think it would be the safer choice indeed, Your Grace. Even if I'm dying to find out what it's all about. What shall we do with the bandits? I took the time to think and weigh my options before making a decision. Do we have any information whatsoever on these bandits? If they are who they pretend to be, they've been active all over the territory and always follow this pattern, but we know little about them. For the time being, we have no idea of their whereabouts or who their leader is. Are they trustworthy? I mean, once the ransoms have been paid, will they truly release the hostages? So far, yes, they've kept their word. For the time being, we have no proof that this was a setup. We have to believe at the very least that our agent is alive. If they are known for keeping their promises, the best course of action is to pay the ransom without further discussions. Okay, that would cost me 3 again. We can continue letting these bandits live on our lands, even if they're known for being trustworthy. I absolutely do not trust them, and I don't want to pay ransoms all over the place. Pretend to pay the ransom, but trap them. At least we'll have fewer bandits on our hands if our agent is already dead. Not a bad idea either. I mean, if they didn't have such a valuable person, would it be better to just kill them and get rid of them? Also, isn't the other kingdom going to be suspicious if we pay ransom for some person that was captured? That may seem like not important to them. Like, they may get suspicious after that. Or we can do nothing. I believe that this situation is far too uncertain to engage resources. If it's a trap, we'll lose more lives, and I refuse to finance these bandits any further. Even though it'll cost me, the only thing that we can do is have faith in this agent and in his abilities. If he's as talented as you claim, he should be able to give the slip to a handful of bandits. Wow, okay. Poor guy. Like, we can definitely afford to storm the camp and teach them a lesson. It can also terribly backfire. But in this situation, I might be tempted to do just that. Because maybe the game is not that deep in this, but I think if we kill the bandits and then, also release the hostages, it's not gonna be so suspicious as paying a bunch of money to free them. Oh, very well, Majesty. I'll go talk to Alexander and prepare an ambush. We'll keep you appraised of the situation's evolution. Well, do tell how it went. Yeah, that's something that is probably not surprising that it happened. Your Grace, even though it had been carefully planned, I regret to inform you that our ambush was a failure. The bandits were well prepared, and when they spotted us, they started killing the hostages and running away. Fortunately, your agent is very resourceful and he managed to escape. I'm bringing him back to the castle right as I'm writing this report. One of the bandits is dead, but the rest of the group managed to flee. I desperately want to make them pay for the actions and pursue them, but the agent claims that his information is urgent and vital. You must absolutely meet him as soon as possible, Your Grace. Alexander. Alright. So at least the agent is alive. He would probably survive either way, I suppose, but we did lose some resources. It's fine. We're managing so far. Unable to sleep, I got up to take in a bit of fresh air at the window. As much as I told myself there was no point in speculating before I got the spy's report, I couldn't stop the foreboding I felt. And I was about to be proved right. And that's it for the demo. Thanks for playing Imperial Grace demo. We hope you had a good time. If you haven't already, you can join on Discord to follow the creation of the game in real time and talk with the team and the community. You can also wishlist this game on Steam. And I think you may get news there, maybe? I found this game on what it called, that's something.io, that I also found other story games at, and there were a lot of news there, but maybe they switched to Discord now, and also they have the Steam page now. So Imperial Grace looks very good. I think the romance options are great and fun, and I'm looking forward to playing the whole game with you here. So thank you for watching, and have a great day. Bye.